Hi everyone, myself Dr. P. Soumya, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering College. In this session, I'm going to discuss about environment legislations, environment impact assessment (EIA). So in this session, I'm going to cover the topics: why EIA, what is the introduction about EIA, EIA goals, EIA methodology, and benefits of conducting EIA, conclusion. So here, why EIA? So here, this is environment impact assessment. So here, EIA, it is intended to prevent or minimize potentially adverse environmental impacts and enhance the overall quality of project. So it is EIA, this assessment, it is intended to prevent or minimize. It is intended to prevent or minimize the adverse effects and adverse environmental impacts, and it is used to enhance the overall quality of the project. So this assessment, it is used for project. So this is EIA, it is intended to prevent or minimize the adverse effects, environmental impacts, and enhance the overall quality of project. So the main benefits and advantages of EIA are: environmental impact assessment is or so lower project costs in the long term. So these are the benefits: lower project cost in the long term. So it is increased project acceptance, and it is used to improve the project design. So here EIA, it is having three benefits: lower project cost in the long term, it is increased project acceptance, and it will improve the project design. So here EIA means environmental impact assessment. It is intended to prevent or minimize the adverse environmental impacts, and it will use to enhance the overall quality of the project. So here some main objectives, some main benefits of EIA are: it will lower the project cost in the long term, and it will increase the project acceptance, and also it will improve the project design. So this is introduction about environmental impact assessment. It is a procedure. It is environmental impact assessment. It is a procedure to plan some developmental activity with well defined environmental goals, so that damage due to the activity, both during developmental stage and production stage, it has a minimum impact on natural system and the population in the area. So it environmental impact assessment, it is a procedure. It is a procedure to plan some developmental activity like projects with well defined environmental goals. So that the damage from that activity, that due to that damage due to that activity, both during developmental stage as well as production stage, it should have minimum impact on environment and also population in the area. The National Environment Policy NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, that is NEPA USA, in 1969, first of all provided the guidelines for environment impact assessment through Council for Environmental Quality. So here the National Environmental Policy Act in USA in 1969. So this is provided first guidelines for environmental impact assessment through Council for Environmental Quality, that is CEQ. In India, the Gazette notification of EIA. So here in India, the Gazette notification of EIA, this was issued in 1994, wide, which the Ministry of Environment and Forest provided guidelines for the project proponents to have EIA and prepare an environmental impact statement prior to clearance of the project. So in India, the Gazette notification of EIA, this was issued in 1994. So which is the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So here this the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So these the ministry is provided guidelines for the project proponents to have EIA, environment impact assessment, and they have to prepare an environment impact statement prior to clearance of the project. So this is introduction about environmental impact assessment. So, what are the goals of EIA? Environmental impact assessment. So here to fulfill the responsibilities towards the coming generation as trustees of environment. So to fulfill the responsibilities of towards the coming generation as trustees of environment. So to assure safe, healthy, productive, aesthetically as well as culturally pleasing surroundings. So here the second goal is to assure safe, healthy, productive, aesthetically as well as culturally pleasing surroundings. So to provide a widest range of beneficial uses of environment without degradation of or risk to health. To provide widest range of beneficial uses of environment without degradation or risk to the health. So to achieve a balance between population and resource use for a good standard of living. So to achieve a balance between population and resources use for a good standard of living. So to preserve historical, cultural and natural heritage, and also to ensure sustainable development with minimal environmental degradation. So these are the goals of environmental impact assessment. So here EIA clearance required. So every project should have EIA clearance. So EIA clearance it is required. Total EIA clearance it is required for 32 categories of developmental works broadly categorized into following sectors. So total environmental impact assessment clearance it is required for 32 categories of developmental works. So these are categorized into different types. So first developmental work is mining projects, thermal power plant projects, river valley projects, infrastructure. So this includes road, highway, ports, harbors and airports, industries. Infrastructure it includes road, highway, ports, harbor, airports, industries including very small electroplating or foundry units. So these are the some of the developmental works in which is to be EIA clearance, which has to be EIA clearance certificate, that is mining project, thermal power plant project, river valley, infrastructure that includes road, highway, ports, harbors and airports, industries including very small electroplating or foundry industries. So certain activities permissible under Coastal Regulation Zone Act 1991. So these permissible under Coastal Regulation Act Rules 1991. So these also require similar clearance. So these also require similar clearance. EIA methodology. So the basic steps followed in EIA are first step is screening, scoping, baseline data, impact identification, prediction, evaluation, mitigation, EIS preparation, and review and environment audit involving public participation at various stages. So basic steps followed by EIA are: first step is screening, scoping, baseline data, impact identification, prediction and evaluation, mitigation, EIS preparation, review and environment audit. So these are the steps involved in the EIA methodology. So here proposal identification. So this, after that, screening is takes place. So here initial environmental examination takes place. So this screening is some of projects required EIA, some of projects are not required, no EIA. So when initial environmental examination, so here no EIA. So after that, EIA required. So first we have to follow the first process, scoping. So after that, impact analysis, mitigation and impact management. Next we have to produce EIA report. After that, we have to review the report. So this after reviewing the report, we have to take the decision, that is decision making. After that, so this is approved. If implementation, if it is approved, the implementation is follow up is takes place. So if it is not approved, redesign and resubmission is taking place. So here, so implementation and follow up. So this is information from the process contributes effective future EIA. So these are the steps involved in environmental impact assessment methodology. So first step is screening. It is done to see whether the project needs an EIA for clearance or not. So first step is screening. In this, it is done to see whether the project needs an EIA clearance or not. So after that, further there are some prohibited areas where generally development projects are not allowed. So there are some prohibited areas, so where generally development of projects are not allowed. So examples of that areas are Coastal Regulation Zone, CRZ, Dahanu Taluka, Maharashtra, Aravalli Range, and also Reserve Forest. So these are the areas, these are prohibited areas where generally development projects are not allowed. So here screening step. So here the screening, it is done to see whether the project it needs EIA clearance or not. Scoping means, so it involves determination of the extent of EIA required for the project. So it involves the determination of extent of EIA required for the project. So depending upon the project, basically two types of EIA may be carried out. So when EIA report is based on single season data, means other than monsoon period, it is called rapid EIA. When the EIA report, it is based on single season data, so it is called as rapid data. So rapid EIA. So when EIA report is based on detailed seasonal data, it is called as comprehensive EIA. So here scoping, it involves determination of the extent of EIA required for the project. So here, depending upon the project, basically two types of EIA may be carried out. First one is rapid EIA, comprehensive EIA. Rapid EIA means, so when the EIA report, it is based on seasonal data, single season data. So that is called rapid EIA. So when the EIA report, it is based on detailed seasonal data. So it is called as comprehensive EIA. So next step is baseline data. It gives a holistic picture of overall environmental setting of the project, project location, showing any significant environmental items prior to initiation of the action. So it gives a holistic picture of overall environmental setting of a project location, showing any significant environmental items prior to initiation of action. So any potentially critical environmental changes and information about the site to the decision makers and reviewer, so who might be unfamiliar with general location of the project area. So the following environmental parameters are usually considered while preparing the baseline data. So first parameter is site location and topography. So for preparing baseline data, some environmental parameters are used. So here first parameter is site location and topography of the location, and also regional demography population distribution within 10 to 50 kilometers radius, land use and water use pattern. So next parameter is regional demography population distribution within 10 to 50 kilometer radius, and land use and also water use pattern. Regional landmarks like historical and cultural heritage in the area. So for this, archaeological or state registers can be checked. So for this, we have to check archaeological or state registers. So here, geology, landform. So we have to check geology, landform, soil type, landscape, etc. are studied. So and also hydrology, groundwater and surface water resources are quantified. Water quality, pollution, stability, pollution sources, etc. are studied. In hydrology, groundwater and also surface water resources. So these are quantified, and also quality of pollution sources also studied. So here meteorological temperature extremes, wind speed and direction, dew point, atmospheric stability, rainfall, storms, etc. are recorded. And also ecology, the flora, fauna, endangered species, successional stage, etc. are enlisted. For a particular project, some of the parameters may be important, while for others, some other parameters could be important. So in this, checking, for preparing baseline data, so we have to use some environmental parameters. First one is site location and topography. Second one is regional demography population. So there should be distribution within 10 to 15 kilometer radius, and land use and also water use pattern. Regional landmarks, like historical and cultural heritage in the area. So we have to check the geology, that is land form, soil type, landscape, etc. So these are also studied. Hydrology means it will give information about groundwater, surface water sources, and also meteorological temperature extremes. So these temperatures, we have to check the parameter: meteorological temperature extremes, wind speed, direction, dew point, atmospheric stability, rainfall, storms. So these also recorded in the baseline data. And also we have to see the ecology, the flora, fauna, endangered species, successional stage, etc. These are also enlisted in the baseline data. So for a particular project, some of the parameters may be important, while for others, some of other proper parameters could be important. So based on the project, so we have to use the different parameters for preparing baseline data. Next step is impact identification. So after preparing baseline data, we have to identify the impacts. It includes the details of projects, characters, and baseline environmental characteristics to ensure the identification of full range of environmental impacts. So impact identification, it includes the details of project characters and baseline environmental characteristics to ensure the identification of full range of environmental impacts. So during identification process, the positive and negative direct and indirect, significant and insignificant impacts are considered. So here during this impact identification process, the positive and negative, direct and indirect, significant and insignificant impacts are considered. So next step is impact prediction. Here magnitude of change is going to occur due to the project is predicted by using mathematical models or mass balance models. So in impact prediction, so here we have to use mathematical models or for mass balance models. So which is so here we have to use these models for to predict the magnitude of changes going to occur due to the project. Impact evaluation. So the impact evaluation, it is done by considering the costs and also benefits of the project. Impact evaluation, so this is done by considering the cost as well as benefits of the project. The long term effects and side effects of the project are also evaluated. Indirect evaluation of environmental parameter, these are also done in the impact evaluation. So example, loss of rare species, degradation of lake, etc. So here impact evaluation, this is also involves the, so here we have to evaluate indirect evaluation of environmental parameters. So here we have to evaluate the long term effects and also side effects of the projects. Example, so here loss of rare species and also degradation of lake. So this is impact evaluation in the environmental impact assessment methodology. Next process is mitigation. So once the impacts are predicted, evaluated, mitigation measures are to be suggested to avoid, reduce or rectify the adverse changes due to the project. So mitigation, so after this is takes place after the, after prediction and evaluation, this mitigation process, it is measures, mitigation measures are to be suggested to avoid, reduce or rectify the adverse effects of the projects, adverse changes due to the project. So here we have to review and draft impact statement. It is prepared at this stage. So in mitigation process, the review and draft impact statement is prepared. So next step is decision analysis. Public participation. So it is involved by arranging group discussion or by adopting questionnaire method to arrive at a decision about the project and its evaluation. So in decision analysis, public participation also involved by arranging group of discussions or by adopting questionnaire method to arrive at a decision about the project and also its evaluation. Environmental impact statement. So here EIS, environmental impact after decision making, environmental impact statement, that is EIS. This is based on the data obtained and review suggestions. A final EIS is based on the data obtained and review suggestions. Final EIS, it is prepared as per the format provided by the Ministry of Environment and Forest in our country. So this environmental impact statement, it is prepared based on the data obtained and also review suggestions. So here the final EIS prepared. So as per the guidelines provided by Ministry of Environment and Forest in our country. The EIS environmental impact statement clearly mentions the objectives of the project. So this clearly mentions objectives of the project, its environmental impacts that are unavoidable, mitigation measures to minimize the impacts, alternative to the proposed action. So here the environmental impact assessment, impact statement, so this clearly mentions the objectives of the project, environmental impacts of the project, impacts that are unavoidable, mitigation measures to minimize the impacts, and also alternative to the proposed action. So these are also mentioned in the environmental impact statement. So after that, environmental audit. So it compares the impacts predicted in EIS before the project was started and actual impacts after implementation of the project. So environmental audit, so it compares both the impacts predicted in EIS before the project and also project was started, and also actual impacts after implementation of the project. So this is the environmental and audit. It compares impacts predicted in EIS before starting the project and also the impacts after the implementation of the project. So here we have some externalities of EIA. Externalities of EIA. So here positive externalities. So here we have two externalities, positive as well as negative. So positive, new jobs generated. So because of the EIA, new jobs are generated, economic growth stimulated because of the uh, clearance of some projects, new jobs generated, economic growth stimulated. The growth of local business enterprises are supported by EIA, development of supporting and complementary industries taking place, and also influx of capital and disposable income. So these are the positive externalities of EIA. And negative are social impacts. We have two impacts. Social impact, so impact, it will have a EIA impacts, it is having impacts on the health of local population. It will increase in crime and deviant behavior, and also it will additional pressure on the existing physical infrastructure. So example, sewage and water supply, and also decline in community cohesion, and also changed cultural values. So these are negative impacts. So these are social impacts. So environmental impacts are depletion of natural resources. So these are because of negative impacts of EIA on environment. So depletion of natural resources takes place because of the projects, and forest and natural resources like coal and other metals. So minerals, which are present in a ground. So here depletion of natural resources take place, the degradation of natural resources taking place because of the EIA. So destruction of habitats takes place because of the many projects. So change in pH and oxygen level, toxicity of water also increases. Change in pH, oxygen levels, and also toxicity of water also increases because of the EIA. So here increase in toxicity of air. Global warming also takes place because of the different gases produced from the projects, and also ozone depletion also taking place. These are the negative impacts, negative environmental impacts of EIA. So what are the benefits of conducting EIA? So facilities, these are informed. So the facilities inform decision making by providing clear, well structured, dispassionate analysis of effect, and also consequences of proposed project. So the benefit of conducting EIA is it will give facilities. So this in facilities inform decision making by providing clear, well structured, dispassionate analysis of the effect and consequences of the certain projects, and also preemption or early withdrawal of unsound proposals. It will assist in the selection of the best practicable and most environmentally friendly option, and it will result in the best practice prediction and also mitigation of adverse effects of the projects. So these are the some of benefits of conducting EIA. So here some other benefits are, it will influence both project selection and design by screening out. So it will influence both project selection also design, project selection and design by screening out, and also environmentally unsound projects as well as modifying feasible projects, mitigation of negative environmental and social impacts. So it will guide formal approval, including the establishment of terms and conditions of the project and implementation and follow up. So it will give the guides formal approval, including the establishment of terms and conditions of the project, implementation, and also follow up. Mitigation of negative environmental and also social impacts. So it will serve as an adaptive organizational learning process in which the lessons of experience are feedback into policy, institutional, and project design enhancement of project as positive aspects. So these are the some of the benefits of EIA, environmental impact assessment, conducting EIA. So coming to the conclusion, environment impact assessment. So it is a very beneficial step to check whether the project is environmentally friendly or not. So then environment impact assessment, it is a very beneficial step to check whether that project is environment friendly or not. Since the economic development, it is result of interaction between natural resources and technology. So this is supported by designated designed designed for people, supported by designated people. So all human activities should be economic, social, and environmental friendly. So here, since economic development, it is result of interaction between natural resources and technology, support by people. So all human activity, all human activities, so which should be economic, social, environmental friendly. So this is about environmental impact assessment, and thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.